So like, low key, chaos theory was kind of good. So I don't like, I usually don't like to sit there and say like, oh, I think this is really good or this is really bad. Yeah, I usually want to let people form their own opinions, but I watched Chaos Theory, right? And first of all, fun name, definitely takes inspiration from what Jeff Goldblum's character. But I watched, and here's the thing, I watched Camp Cretaceous. When it comes to like most franchises, as we've known, whether it was Fast and Furious, Planet of the Apes, I just want to know the lore. And so I will go and try to watch every spin-off show. I mean, I've seen all the Marvel shows. I've seen all the Star Wars shows. I've seen, most of the Star Wars shows at this point. I think the only Marvel show I didn't really watch was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But that's kind of like, whatever. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Jurassic Park. Yeah, I watched Camp Cretaceous just because I kind of wanted the lore. And I mean, and there are some things about that one that were like, okay, this is pretty cool. Like the Scorpius Rex and just some of the like more little nuances of just trying to flesh out the world that they pretty much created for themselves. Now that it's taken differently turn than it did with the movies. I mean, the old movies and the book. But so I Chaos Theory, I remember seeing the trailer like, okay, this seems interesting. They're adults now, because like Camp Cretaceous is very much a kids show. And Chaos, don't get me wrong, Chaos Theory is still a kids show. They're rated the same, but it's kind of hard for me to believe that they are the same rate, because Chaos Theory actually, so spoilers, right? But like Chaos Theory actually, like, it actually treats everybody like, I feel like, okay, I was not spoon fed anything. I felt like, I mean, and there were parts of Camp Cretaceous that were like, it was a little dark for like what I watched and like it being a kids show, but like Chaos Theory was just, so they're adults now. These kids, they grow up, they're adults now. And I actually felt like they treated them like adults, and they had adult problems that I quite frankly related to very, very well. And I was like, I was just actually surprised of how much this show was like, yeah, to break it down a little bit better is that like, so the basic kind of story of it is that one of their friends, Brooklyn, is that her name? She was like an influencer in the first one, but she like, it starts off saying like she dies, like she gets killed by like an Allosaurus. And then the rest of the show is like just all these friends, how they dealt with that loss, how they grieved, and some of them grieved better than others, but it was hard for them losing this friend who like they literally trauma bonded with. And then that's another thing, like you actually see like over time like how each of one of them, like that they were on this island, like don't get me wrong, that's gonna cause trauma for anybody, right? But just seeing that how they lost it, and I thought that was a bold take, that seeing that how like they lost a friend, and like to her have killed in such a like horrific way, not only like just in general, but also the fact that like they went years on an island surviving and never got killed by a dinosaur. So for that being the reason that she died was like kind of like, wow, that kind of like hits home for a lot of them. And so Darius' character, I guess he's pretty much our main character throughout like most of the series, but you see how he dealt with it by like, he locked himself away from everybody. He like ignored his friends and his family. He's been hunting down this Allosaurus to like, I guess, trying to get like some kind of revenge, like a Moby Dick type situation. And he's even like been to the point where like he's calling Brooklyn's phone because he just wants to hear her voice. And it's just like, man, that's like hard. Then you get Ben, right? That's his name, Ben. Anyways, Ben was like the one with Bumpy, that dude. He's all like buff and like tall now, and he's like, but he's kind of like conspiracy theorist living in his van. And it's kind of funny because like, it just, if you know the how Camp Cretaceous goes, like his trajectory was just, he was like this scared germaphobe kid or whatever, and then he becomes like this hard, like, I'm surviving in the jungle by myself and fighting dinosaurs, I tame a dinosaur. And then now he's like, yeah, he goes to college, and then it's like Kenji. It's interesting to see how he evolved, because like him and Brooklyn were dating, but then that's another thing, like it even shows aspects of their relationship, and some of their relationship is just, wow, that actually is like, I understand how that feels. There's a part where like, so you learn this later, and I might be getting ahead of myself, but like Kenji's and Brooklyn's relationship wasn't all rainbows and sunshines. Like there were parts of it that were like kind of hard, and they were hard for Kenji because she dove deep in her work. Like she was originally an influencer when she was younger, but then she kind of became like investigative journalist, and so she was so deep in her work, she was so lost in the sauce that like, and here's Kenji grew up very rich and having everything he wanted. I mean, he flaunted that a lot in Camp Cretaceous, but like now he's all like, I kind of want to like take a step back, enjoy the little things in life. Like he gets like a camper in like the woods, and he just spends all his days like rock climbing, enjoying the scenery, seeing the dinosaurs just out in the field. And he wants to share that with Brooklyn, but she's so deep in her work that she's not focused. She's not paying attention. And that's like kind of like heartbreaking, like to think about, because like, it's not like she cheated on him. It's not like she like, did anything like that. She just wasn't present in the relationship. And like Kenji just got to a point where he's like, I can't do this anymore. You're not here with me. And that's, I want you here with me. I want to share this life that I found, because like he never had that. Like he didn't have a nice childhood or whatever because like his father was like a piece of crap. So for them to break up like that is kind of just like, wow, like that's an adult like kind of breakup. A more dramatic breakup that I would see in like most shows is like, oh, somebody cheated, but no, it was just like straight up like, no, you're not like present with me. And that's like and sometimes it just be like that. And seeing that kind of represented in like a show for kids was kind of like, dang, that kind of like I'm sure some of us have been there, right? As adults, you know, growing up and stuff. That's not a type of breakup, like I said, I would see and that's like teenager stuff. That's more of a like, no, that's more of an adult thing, you know, like more of a mature breakup. It's like, yeah, I want you to spend more time with me. Anyways, moving on from that, you know, Yaz and Sammy, they like pretty much, they stayed together. They were still a couple. So just like with Kenji and Brooklyn, they have relationship issues too. And you actually see that flourish as well, or diminish, you know, because you find out that Yaz has been having trouble adapting into like the real world. At first it was fine, but then, you know, as we learned in like, was it Jurassic World Dominion, the last movie, that like dinosaurs are pretty much integrated with society, and that was hard for Yaz, and like she was just like going through it. She's having like PTSD flashbacks and everything, and so she goes away to like, I think, to like work on project. I think she's in college. I don't remember fully, but like she going through dinosaur immersive therapy to try to become a better person. Meanwhile, Sammy is like, she's back at home on her ranch in Texas, and she, you know, is worried about Yaz, thinking like she needs my help. And she's becoming a very worried person because she's calling and texts her all the time, and so there's like this dynamic of Yaz has actually grown up a lot and she's improved a lot, and she doesn't like how Sammy has been treating her like pretty much like a baby. Well, Sammy over here is like, well, how am I supposed to know you've grown if I haven't seen you in so long and we don't talk as much? So it's just like a thing of like communication, and that's like another adult kind of message that I saw, that like, you know, so as you get older, you have relationships, like you want to like learn to communicate with your partner and everything. And so seeing that, I was like, wow, that's kind of like an important thing that I think most people should learn at a young age, is like how to communicate with your partner properly. You know, like I know kids are watching this, but like it's like youth 7 or whatever. I think that's what it was. And it's funny because when it says youth 7 and it says the reason why, it just said fear in one of them. But like, I think these are maybe important things that I think that they're not taught at a young age, is like how to communicate, how to like, and even just regardless if it's like a partner, because like most kids too young to date, but like just how to communicate with people and like let them know how you feel about something. I was just like a little amazed by like just seeing those things in this show. And I kind of compare it to like, so this is kind of a comparison I saw with Chaos Theory, was that like, so like Godzilla movies have always been, people always made fun of the human plot, and we always want to see Godzilla. And I think it's maybe the same with Jurassic Park. We want to see the dinosaurs roar. Maybe not as much as compared to Godzilla, but in this one, I actually found the human story quite well. You know, it was just, it was interesting to me to see the relationship of these kids who like what they went through, and now they're adults, and like just some of the more adult problems that they went through, that I actually quite enjoy that. And the dinosaurs are there, they added to the plot. Don't get me wrong, there were some corny things that kind of like, there's no way that would ever happen. But like, also keep in mind, it's a kid's show. Let's not overthink it too much, but also I am overthinking it a little bit. Anyways, back to like Sammy, yes, they eventually like come together after like, cause the whole thing is they find out that Brooklyn's death is like wasn't an accident. It was like set up, and people have been hunting them for whatever reason, probably because they just know too much. They've been on the island and found so many secrets. So that's probably why people are like killing them. They're sending raptors out to kill them. It's absolutely wild. But so they're going to go find Sammy and Yaz. And so Ben and Sammy are finding Yaz. They go meet with her. There's a moment where like they have an argument because basically like, oh, we haven't communicated. And then they eventually have a moment where like, we need to come together. We're a couple. We need to just work on stuff, you know, and be a unit. After like almost dying in Ben's van, almost getting drowned, they do come together, and it's kind of a beautiful moment of like, okay, yeah, just communicate with your partner. And then back to Kenji and Darius. They're having a moment because like Kenji's upset with Darius, thinking that like what happened with Brooklyn was his fault, because like he was supposed to go meet her that night and be there with her, but he wasn't. Then turns out there's something kind of weird though going with Darius in that whole situation, because like he's been very secretive about the stuff that happened with him in Brooklyn, and you're kind of like, what's going on there? Eventually you find out, because like Brooklyn had this whole secret life. Eventually she goes meets with Kenji's dad. There's some sus things happening there, and then that's another moment that like Kenji has with his father, like because sometimes you get older, you may have estranged parents and you may not want to see them. So Kenji has a moment with his dad where he's, you know, I don't like that my dad's treating me this way. It's very wrong, it's very dumb, and I just hate that like everything just feels like a business transaction with his dad. Like I just want my dad was in prison, now he's in a halfway house, and I just want to talk to him about like what had happened to his girlfriend, you know. Eventually, basically his dad was like, if you become the CEO of my new company, I'll tell you everything you want. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna do it, like screw off, bye. And then Kenji's dad finally realizes like, well, I want my son in my life. I love my son, you know, deep down. So he does tell them what's going down. And then that's when like Kenji's dad does something unexpected. He sacrifices himself to save Kenji because like those raptors come and like fight him, or like, and they kill him. And like Kenji has to watch his dad get killed. And there's a scene where like they get saved and he's in a car and they tell him to pull over and he like breaks down crying. Like, because I just watched my dad die. That was like, dang, that's like a hard scene to watch. Anyways, fast forward it. They learn that Brooklyn has some secret apartment. She got some money in there. I don't know what's going on in Brooklyn. But anyways, you learn that so like they get Brooklyn's phone from some guy who like pretty much was there the night that Brooklyn died, and he brought the, because you learn that like there's like this organization that, you know, trapping dinosaurs and like pretty much like kind of like animal control but for dinosaurs, but like some of them are working under the table to like move dinosaurs in certain areas just for extra money, you know. And this guy did it, and he didn't know he was gonna get anybody hurt or anything like that. So he eventually wants to help them out because he feels bad. But he has Brooklyn's phone. He gives it to them, and Darius being sus. He's like deleting messages. He doesn't want to show Kenji what's on the phone and everything because he knows the password. So you find out that Brooklyn was staying with Darius for a little bit, and during that moment, this is where we get a little love triangle here. Darius falls in love with Brooklyn, and then he tells Kenji, and he's like, you know, it kind of just happened, and you're kind of wondering like, well, did she like you back? And every time he asks that question, something happens, cuts him off, and eventually though, towards the end, you find out that Brooklyn did not feel the same way about Darius, which honestly I'm kind of glad, because, you know, I didn't need that extra stress in my life of like, this is make things too complicated, you know. I kind of was rooting for Kenji in Brooklyn, and Darius was kind of annoying in the first in Camp Cretaceous. But you know, regardless though, that's also some adult things that could happen. Like, you know, you falling for your best friend's girlfriend, that could happen, I guess. Also, to keep in mind, Kenji's like a brother to Darius, because like his family took Kenji in when like he had nobody. His dad was in prison, so a lot of like drama, a little bit of drama there, not too crazy of drama, but like it was enough drama to keep me like, okay, I'm kind of interested in the story. All I have to say though, like I said, some of the issues in there were like, dang, like I just can't believe that was very fleshed out, I think, as far as like a story, you know, and it kept me interested. I mean, I watched the thing literally in like a night. Like I started on a Saturday a night, and I finished it on a Sunday morning, and I was like, it wasn't bad, you know. So with that said, eventually they find wherever the dinosaurs are being held, they bust them out, and we got the return of Bumpy. I just want to put that Bumpy came back. And Bumpy laid an egg too. That was dope. We got Bumpy Jr. You know, it's gonna be awesome when the egg finally hatches. New Bumpy 2.0. But there's this weird lady who like is like, you know, she's got this whistle. She's like getting the raptors to attack them. And I don't know who this lady is, but she's creepy. I don't know what her deal is. I don't know where she comes from. I don't know how she controls these raptors. But one interesting thing I saw about her character, she wasn't inherently all evil, because there's a one point towards the end where she sees that her raptors are injured because they freed the T-Rex, which they did like a I guess it was like kind of like a moment where Bryce Dallas Howard runs with the heels and she's running with the T-Rex, but Darius does it with the Allosaurus, and those is kind of his moments like, I forgive the Allosaurus, it's just an animal, like it wasn't his fault that Brooklyn died. And it kind of did a parallel. I even think there was a part where like you hear the heels like, you know, but there's a whole brawl with the Allosaurus, the raptors, and the T-Rex that they freed, and then the raptors are injured, and you can see the lady, she's like, okay, my raptors are injured, I kind of want to get them out of here before anything bad happens to them. Also, the police are coming, and I found that kind of like, okay, this lady, she's got heart, I guess. You know, so I'm curious to see what happens, because it ends with them getting on this boat full of dinosaurs, and that's the end of it. They definitely set up for season 2, and I can't believe I talked this long about this kid show. I really can't believe I did. That's wild. Anyways, I'm gonna end it, because just go if you're curious about it. If not, whatever. But it was solid. I have to say it was solid. Remember that. Juice out. But season 2, let's go.